What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? It's me, Snorlax2988, coming at you live once again through the power of the internet, and this is my Pokemon Go review. First thing I want to say is that I am actually completely blown away by the quality of this game. When they announced it, I expected it to nowhere near deliver what they showed in the trailer. And to be honest with you, it doesn't. But what it does deliver is actually really a lot of fun and a very solid package, one that I have found myself playing in the last week, probably 10 or 12 hours a day. Now, what has made that possible is the fact that my wife is just as addicted to this game as I am. After seeing me play it for the Francis video, she decided to download it, and she's completely addicted. And this is really saying something because my wife has never played a Pokemon game before, none of the 3DS games, none of the Nintendo Game Boy games. She's never played the card game. She's never watched the cartoon. This is her very first experience with Pokemon, and she loves it as much as any of the rest of my friends. She is addicted to catching pokes. Which leads me to I think the strongest point of this game, and that's the social aspect. Obviously, this is amazing to get to enjoy with my wife and to see this game through her eyes, but a good majority of my friends are into the game as well, and sharing it with them is fantastic. You know, when we had our weekly gathering this last Saturday at my place, we went out looking for pokes. We ended up driving around, going to some nearby gyms and taking them over. We went to Dixon Street and took it over there. We met some random other Pokemon players, people we've never met before that live in the same city as us, and sharing that interest with brand new people, brand new trainers, all of these brand new people. Going to a park and seeing it filled with pasty-skinned nerds wearing Star Wars and Pokemon t-shirts, it's quite a sight to behold, and I love it. Which I think also leads me to one of my first criticisms of the game. We were promised a lot of features that are simply not there yet, and we don't know when they're coming. Stuff like battling your friends or being able to trade Pokemon. That stuff is definitely, hopefully coming at some point, but wasn't there at launch, and that kind of sucks. And not that the combat is anything really worth writing home about. This isn't traditional turn-based RPG style Pokemon battles. This is definitely a button masher kind of thing. You know, you bash your button to do your abilities quickly, and then once you've charged up an ability, you can hold down the button to use that. The mechanics for fighting are okay. They definitely could have been improved on, and we would have been a lot better had it been traditional Pokemon physics. Though I do have to say, once I got used to the new mechanics and the new fighting style when it comes to gyms, I've actually begun to enjoy it a lot. The fact that you and multiple people can attack the same gym tower at the same time, you can even see your friends fighting the same monsters at the same time. The prestige system for the towers is really, really smart. When you're able to fortify a tower and join it, join the gym and become a trainer of that gym, putting your best Pokemon in there to defend it, that stuff is actually a lot of fun, and that's a part of the social experience too. Whatever team you're on, if you can group up with other members of that team, fighting the same tower together is a lot of fun. Taking over that tower and dominating it and protecting it together is likewise fun. Pokestops are a really interesting idea as well. I think it's a lot of fun to be able to visit an area that has a lot of Pokestops, gather as many supplies as you need to play the game, like Pokeballs and potions and raspberries and revives, and even the occasional incubator or lucky egg to make things a little easier, and of course, eggs that you can hatch Pokemon out of. Pokestops are amazing. The downside is, in a lot of suburban areas, there's not much, and a lot of rural areas, there's next to nothing. You got to go to a fairly highly populated area that has a few interesting places to visit in order to be able to find a lot of Poke Centers. Now, if you live in a suburban area or a rural area far outside of a town like we currently do, then chances are you're going to find yourself needing to spend money on the microtransaction store in order to get the supplies that you need to play the game. And that can be very frustrating. Nobody wants to have to do that, but you might have to do that. It's much better if that's something you want to do to support the game or feel that you can do if you just want to bypass the time, but having to do that really sucks. But if you're capable of planning a day trip into a place that has a few Poke Centers, maybe even just eat lunch or dinner at a place next to a Poke Center, you can spin the same Poke Center every 5 minutes. You can spin it 10 times and get enough supplies to be able to play for a couple of days. So as long as you're 15 or 20 minutes away from somewhere where there's at least one Poke Center, you can bypass that if you're willing to spend a little time exploring that park, exploring that part of town. Likewise, if you're in a suburban or rural area and you're not able to really travel to play the game, the types of Pokemon that you will see is very, very limited. In some rural areas, you'll see next to nothing if you don't use a lure, and a lure will only bring certain types of pokes to the yard. That can be very frustrating to someone who's stuck in a rural area or is slightly immobile or stuck in their home for some reason. Obviously, this game is not going to appeal to you. And for someone like me whose ability to walk is very, very limited, fortunately for me, there's places in town where we can pretty much drive right up to a Poke Center or a Poke Gym, park in front of it. We can put a lure module on that Poke Gym and actually attract not just other Pokemon, but attract other players as well. That's a great experience. That's not going to be available everywhere, though, and we're fortunate to have that. Likewise, hatching eggs in an incubator does not count when you're driving. You have to be going a certain speed, below that certain speed, in order to hatch those eggs. So that absolutely means you need to be walking or doing something similar in order to hatch those eggs. That means for a person like me, eggs are going to hatch very, very slowly. But we did hatch my first 10K egg today, and I'm pretty excited about that, though a lot of that was driving through certain parks and even loaning my wife my phone when she goes out for her nightly walk. The mechanic for catching Pokemon is actually pretty brilliant, and I really like it. It's basically the equivalent of those little flick paper balls or airplanes into the trash games. And I like that. But as Pokemon get higher level, they become more difficult to capture, and not just in the needing better balls, but in the fact that the mechanics of the game do seem to change. You'll have balls spiraling off for no reasons. You'll have Pokemon attacking more often. It can become very, very frustrating. And you'll go through a lot of balls at higher levels, which means you need to spend a lot more time at Poke Centers or actually end up purchasing balls for real-life money. I think they definitely did a very, very good job of making certain Pokemon very common in an area, making some very rare in an area, making some evolutions and higher-end versions very difficult to acquire, very difficult to find. I love the fact that certain Pokemon are very common in some areas and very rare in that same area, and are very common in other areas and rare in that area. You'll see a lot of variety in a lot of different places you visit, and that encourages you to get out and explore. And of course, that is the point of this game, to get out, to explore, to walk, to see stuff you've never seen, to see these pieces of art or these businesses marked as Poke Centers, and obviously they have done a very good job using the rarity system to encourage that behavior. The evolution system is pretty good, getting candies every time you acquire a Pokemon and using those candies to evolve your pokes. Pretty good system. I do hate the fact that your starter ends up being completely worthless because it has a CP of 10 to start off with, and you'll see CP 2000 as you get closer to max level. So it can be kind of frustrating because you end up ditching your Pokemon. It makes it difficult to feel attached to a Pokemon that you caught early on. Even if you spend all of your dust and candy to keep up, they simply will not keep up. And that's kind of frustrating, knowing that everything I've caught for the last 17 levels is stuff that I'll eventually recycle, looking for better stuff later down the road. But this is one of those opportunities that I actually get to praise a company for their use of microtransactions. It would have been very easy for them to charge for candies and to charge for dust. That is currently not something that they are doing at the time of this review, and had they done, it would have ruined the integrity of the game. The choice to not sell me candies and not sell me Stardust is what makes this game still valuable. It means every Pokemon that you've ever caught is legitimate in one way or the other, and that was a very good decision. I hope that's not a decision they ever plan to change. But to be entirely honest with you, the mechanics of the game are not fantastic. They're just pretty good. The game would be slightly above average for a mobile game had it not been for the social experience. But the social experience of playing this with my wife and playing it with my friends and meeting all kinds of new people because it's a global phenomenon is what puts this game off of the charts. Without that social experience, it's just an okay game, just a decent mobile game, but the social experience of playing this along with the world makes it fantastic. Going to an area with a ton of Pokestops and seeing a bunch of other Poke players, sharing lure modules, talking to them, sharing tips, talking about how the best way to catch pokes in the area, how to level up your characters in the most efficient way possible, what to do with your candy, what to do with your raspberries, how to best catch Pokemon. Sharing that information with total strangers has been awesome, and I love every second of it. But the social experience can also be one of the major downsides because you see a lot of people driving like idiots. You see people trespassing into places they're not supposed to be. You see people being general jackasses. And of course, we've even seen people using lure modules at Pokestops to rob people. Yes, there are people actually being Team Rocket, by putting a gun in your face and taking your phone and your wallet. They literally steal your Pokemon. I can't believe that's happening. But all of this is easily resolved by using common sense. Ask yourself the question, would I drive like this even if there wasn't a Bulbasaur in the area? Would I go down that dark and dangerous alley even if there wasn't a Poke Center there? If the answer is no, then you probably should not do that stuff. Use common sense and you'll probably be okay, and so will everyone around you. Enjoying the game, and my friends and family are enjoying it well, and I think I'll be enjoying it probably for the next month or so. After that, though, I think I'll reach max level. I'll have probably caught them all, and it'll be up to the developers to continue to keep people interested. And the way they'll do that, I don't know. They'll need to keep adding new features. Hopefully, they'll be adding the next generation of Pokemon somewhere in the next 5 or 6 months. I think that'd be a good time to get people going again. I really think they need to not drop the ball because this global phenomenon could peter out relatively quickly if they're not pretty assertive and pretty willing to add new stuff, and I hope they have the teams to do it, and especially if they can't fix those fucking servers. I can't believe the servers are still having issues. I tried to not include that in my review because I know eventually they'll resolve them, but we're a week out now and they still haven't. I know they're working on it, I know it's getting better, but there's still a lot of work left to be done. And with the amount of money they're making on both iOS and Android, they should be able to do it. But then again, that's just one man's opinion. I could be wrong, and if I am, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comment section below. Do you like the game? Do you hate the game? Have you refused to try it? Have you tried it and you hate it? Do you love it? Are you just as addicted as me and my friends and family? Guys, I'd love to know, and if you let me know in the comment section below, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.